Prepare to sacrifice your lives. Could it be? We have to gamble our lives on this. Suddenly, an immense surge of magical power descended. Sensing the danger, the giant immediately turned to defend himself. From the sky, Fenrir descended like a bolt of lightning, aiming straight for him with terrifying speed. Before he could react, his head was severed from his neck. Siyu was stunned, witnessing the horrifying scene. That wolf, could it be? Jun Jiayong and Inchang approached, anxiously asking, "Are you all right?" He was still in shock. "Thank goodness you were here." He breathed a sigh of relief. The group looked around, their faces full of doubt. "Where are Seongun and Yunil? I can't sense their presence." Kuin spoke in a low, heavy voice. "Master has gone to Chanji to seal Sangun." Jun's pupils constricted, his heart pounding with anxiety. This isn't good, he thought. He quickly turned around, urgently instructing Zhongyin and Chong. "You two take care of things here, Manhwa immediately responded. "Leave it to me." Then he bolted, running at full speed. The scenery on both sides blurred, flashing by in an instant. In a clearing, Sang-un and Yunil stood facing each other, weapons drawn. Magical energy surged around them, swirling and twisting, making the atmosphere crackle with tension. The air was thick with anticipation. Sang-un's eyes glowed blood red, his face a terrifying mask of rage, sharp fangs bared in a snarl. A ferocious roar echoed through the air. Yunil gripped her sword tightly, frozen in place, hesitant to advance. With a sorrowful expression, she softly called out, "Sang-un, it seems you've completely lost yourself." Sang-un lunged, razor-sharp claws extended to seize Yunil. She reacted just in time, conjuring a magical shield to block the attack. But Sang-un didn't give up. On the contrary, the rage within him intensified. Yunil tried to shake Seongun awake, pleading desperately, "Stop it." Tears welled up in her eyes, her heart torn with conflict. I can't do this anymore," she sobbed. A blinding light erupted, and Yunil's small form vanished instantly. Yunil, with all her might, charged forward. She raised her sword high, slashing down at Seongun's head. Seongun immediately summoned his mana to defend. Seeing that familiar face, Yunil hesitated. In that moment of distraction, Seongun struck her, sending her flying. Her small body crashed hard against the ground, tumbling a considerable distance. A thick cloud of dust billowed up. Sparks of mana flickered within the dust cloud. Debris flew in all directions. Yunil slammed into a large boulder behind her before finally coming to a stop. She struggled to her feet. But then a sharp pain tore through her chest, and she coughed up blood. It seemed she was gravely injured. Yunil straightened up, wiping the blood from the corner of her mouth, and looked at Seongun with anguish in her eyes. You were like a father to me." Her voice trembled. "You took in and raised an orphan like me. How could a mere child like you possibly defeat me? Right now, can no longer distinguish between friend and foe. Only the savage instincts of a beast remain." Looking at Yunil, she clasped her hands together, silently awaiting her fate. "Instead of harming others, please kill me." 2 tears streamed down Yunil's cheeks, her voice trembling, yet filled with unwavering resolve. "Kill me, Sanjin, and it all here. I'm so tired." Without hesitation, Sanjin raised his sharp claws, intending to end the girl's life. The magic around him fluctuated violently with each of his movements. Sanjin's massive foot slammed into the ground, shaking the entire area. Yunil squeezed her eyes shut, despair filling her heart. But a moment later, she realized she was still unharmed. Surprised, Yunil opened her eyes. Junying, who had appeared seemingly out of nowhere, was standing in front of her, blocking the fatal attack. He remained calm in the face of imminent danger. Junying gently asked, "Are you all right?" Yunil stood frozen, shocked by the horrific scene before her. Sang-un gave them no chance to breathe or speak. He continued to lash out with his razor-sharp claws. Junjung, quick as a flash, scooped her up and darted out of the danger zone, barely escaping the earth-shattering blast. The explosion sent a towering inferno into the sky, unleashing terrifying destructive power. But he landed softly on the ground, safe and sound. He looked at Yunil, worried by her disheveled appearance and torn clothes. Regardless of her appearance, what mattered was what happened to her. She recounted meeting a mysterious man dressed in black. She briefly described the encounter with Sangun, and then the tragedy that followed. Junjung's pupils constricted. The image of a man with a sinister, dark aura flashed in his mind. The man in black, could it be him? Junjung exclaimed. He urgently asked Yunil about the man's whereabouts. Yunil offered a worrisome guess. He disappeared a few days ago. I believe Sangin's change is because of him. He was lost in thought. A man dressed in black spoke. Let's put that aside for now. You have a more pressing matter to attend to. First, we must apprehend Sanjin. The young girl clenched her fists and spoke up. That's impossible. He paused, hearing her words. Yunil, feeling utterly helpless, exclaimed, We've tried everything. We tried to seal him away, and even used the power of molten lava to permanently extinguish his magic. But Sanjin's energy is too immense, making it impossible. Junkie asked, So, we have to kill him? Reluctantly, but with resolve, she replied, Yes. A mystical staff materialized in his hand. From its initial form, it transformed into a formidable spear. He channeled his magic and instructed, Rest. Yunil exclaimed, Perhaps. I have a way. With that, he shot off with incredible speed, leaving only a faint streak of light. June unleashed a furious barrage of attacks upon Sanjin, swift as lightning, coming from all directions. He swung his sword downward, a sharp blade tearing through the air. The piercing sound of ripping wind echoed everywhere. Two colossal forces collided, creating an earth-shattering explosion. The entire area in front of Sanjin was completely flat. Shattered debris flew in every direction. A thick cloud of dust and smoke rose, obscuring everything. Witnessing this terrifying scene, Yunil was completely stunned. I can't believe it. He's this strong, in such a short amount of time. How did he change so much? It's as if years have passed. But in reality, it's only been a few days. The battle raged on fiercely. June charged forward like a shot, unleashing a surge of overwhelming magic power. The magic power twisted and coiled, enveloping his spear. Blood sprayed. Sanjin's eyes went blank, his body stiff and motionless. Witnessing his sharp spear pierce through his abdomen, he couldn't even react, not even a single step. Yunil, tears streaming down her face, cried out in agony. Seeing Jian, Jun Jiayong calmly reassured her. Don't worry, I have no intention of killing him. An intense surge of mana converged on the spear, radiating a brilliant light. This dragon heart spear is made from dragon bloodstone, Jun Jiayong explained. And right now, I'm at the peak of my power. Thanks to it, all of Xian Jian's abilities, along with the influence of Baekdu Mountain, everything, I can sense it all through the dragon bloodstone. He tightened his grip on the spear. Crimson threads slowly flowed into his body. And with this magical power, I intend to absorb the evil energy that's driving Xian Jian mad into my own body, to draw in the darkness that's tormenting his mind. However, things don't always go as planned. Jun Jiayong gritted his teeth. His expression turned grave. This is bad. Muspel's spear, slowly morphing into a wicked, demonic spear. Not only that, but it was draining Sangun's life force. The boy's pupils constricted, his resolve hardening, his focus sharpening. I can do this. I have to do this, he told himself. I have to find a way to restore his strength and energy. Suddenly, the system announced, purification function activated. Relief washed over him. Yes, I can't miss this chance. A glimmer of light sparked in Sangun's eyes, influenced by Junjiai's skill. Slowly, the demonic spear reverted to its original form. Sangun awoke, his consciousness gradually returning. He was still dazed, disoriented, as if waking from a long dream. What happened? Junjiai froze, his body trembling with emotion. I did it. Seeing that the situation was safe, Jun Jiayong retreated. Exhausted from the battle, Sangun collapsed. A blinding light erupted, the ground cracking under the immense power. Yunil rushed to Sangun's side in a panic. She raised her hands, mana energy slowly gathering. The little girl, her voice trembling with worry, said, I'll heal you right away, so please just lie still. A brilliant golden light enveloped Sung Jinwoo's entire body. His eyes remained closed, without a single movement. Yunil sobbed desperately, tears streaming down her face. Please, open your eyes, Sung Jinwoo, she pleaded in despair. Finally, she gave up, withdrawing her magic power and collapsing beside Sung Jinwoo. Yunil was consumed by guilt and remorse, her pain unbearable. I'm sorry. A weak voice broke through Yunil's thoughts. Drawn by the unexpected sound, Yunil lifted her head, searching for its source. Not far away, Wanho and Fanya suddenly appeared. Wanho breathed a sigh of relief, the tension draining from his face. He felt incredibly lucky to have arrived in time. Thank goodness, we made it, he thought to himself. Time passed silently. Sung Jinwoo gradually regained some of his strength. He remained still, silently observing Thomas Andre across from him. Thomas Andre asked anxiously, "Have your senses returned to normal?" At first, Sung Jinwoo was slightly. After confirming, he silently assessed the situation. Although he had purged the evil energy from Sagyeon, he was still dying. Jun Ji, seizing the moment, hurriedly asked, "Sagyeon, the man in black who drove you to this state, who is he? And why did you meet him?" Countless questions need answers. I truly don't understand. How could a mythical being like you encounter such a suspicious person? More importantly, why did you absorb that power? Calm down. I will tell you everything. Then he shifted to another matter. Is Yunyul all right? Jun Ji, answer me truthfully. She's just exhausted from worrying about you. A few moments prior, Manhwa was explaining Sejin's condition to Yunyul. I've healed Sejin's external wounds, but his internal condition isn't good. The internal damage to his body is too severe. Even continued treatment won't help anymore. Hearing this, the little girl was stunned, her pupils constricting, tears welling up in her eyes. Her world seemed to crumble in an instant. Back in the present, Sang-gun whispered his last words. I understand. Perhaps you already knew, but I'm about to die. You still remember our promise from years ago? Take care of Yunyul for me. Zero solemnly nodded. You can rest assured. I entrust Yunyul to you. Sang-gun's eyes flickered, recalling the mysterious man in black. Although he is very suspicious, his power feels very familiar. Memories from the past flooded back. Sang-gun corrected himself. He didn't come to me. I was the one who sought him out. What is he plotting? Zero wondered suspiciously. That mysterious man. His face was shrouded in shadow, impossible to see clearly. He stood motionless as a statue, his sharp eyes fixed on Johnny. Sang-gun quietly approached from behind, moving towards him slowly and cautiously. June stroked his chin, his eyes probing, waiting for the next answer. Well, what happened? Sang-gun remained silent for a long moment, then spoke in a low voice. I can't remember. June was startled, completely taken aback by the answer. What? What do you mean? Sang-gun closed his eyes, trying to search his memories. I'm sure I met him in Jeonji before, but I can't recall anything specific. June pondered, a worried expression on his face. He doesn't remember the most crucial part, which means we don't know how Sanjin changed his identity, whether he's an AI or where he's been. Later, in the ravaged village, the scars of a terrible battle remain. They were the remnants of a fierce struggle. Jang stood on the bridge, surveying the scene below. Below the bridge, the surviving villagers were gathered. Is this enough? I'll give you two choices. Her voice was cold and emotionless. Choose wisely. She began to speak. It will be difficult. However, this is the only way to ensure everyone's survival. Everyone listened intently to her every word. The silence in the room was almost eerie. The second option is to come with us to South Korea. We'll need approval from the South Korean government, but we guarantee we will provide adequate housing for everyone. You will receive a notice with a specific time frame. The relocation will take place within 3 days. So, please consider this carefully and make your decision before the deadline. Elsewhere, Jun Ji-young was sitting alone, lost in thought, when Yuni came running to him. Uncle Jun Ji-young. Her face etched with worry, her voice trembling. I'm worried about Mr. Seon-jeon. He always trusted you completely. Could you come with me to visit him? Jun Ji-young immediately agreed. All right. They set off together. They arrived at a deep, gaping tunnel underground. The sound of their footsteps echoed in the silent space, creating a somber atmosphere. Mr. Seon-jeon lay motionless on the cold ground, seemingly lifeless. Yuni sat beside him, gently shaking him and calling out, Mr. Seon-jeon, what's wrong? Her voice was filled with worry and distress. The little girl tried to shake him awake, pleading, Grandpa, wake up. She desperately channeled mana into his body, but the energy flow weakened, flickered, and died. Seon-gun remained motionless. Grandpa Seon-gun. Yunyul choked back sobs, tears streaming down her face as she gently stroked his fur, pouring out her heart. You were such an important part of our family. My dearest friend, unable to contain her grief, she mourned the loss of her beloved companion. Like a father to me, Seon-gun's body suddenly radiated a brilliant light. The little girl whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. Thank you for everything. I'll never forget you, Jun Ji. Junji stood quietly nearby, giving them a moment of privacy. Finally, Seongun's form began to fade away. Yunil knelt, bowing her head in reverence. "Thank you, Seongun." He transformed completely into a pure stream of mana, flowing out through the open pathway. The entire village knelt in unison, bidding farewell to Seongun on his final journey. The gentle stream of mana merged with the earth and sky, returning to nature. Moments later, everyone stood in silence, gazing at the ruined village. A few people voiced their concerns. "Is it really okay to leave this place?" Kuan smiled reassuringly. "We'll be back." In-jong stood before the line of reindeer, neatly arranged and ready. She called out, "Elderly and children first." She gestured with her hand, her voice full of concern. "It will be very cold going down the mountain, so put on warm clothes and climb onto the reindeer." Suddenly, her eyes stopped, noticing something. June gently landed, carrying a sleeping Yunil in his arms. He carefully set her down. Yunil was still clutching a small white tiger cub. The little girl seemed to be in much better spirits. In-jong looked at the tiger cub in surprise, exclaiming, "Wait, why is there a tiger cub?" The girl happily held up the tiger cub, smiling brightly. "Grandpa Seongun," June calmly explained. "Well, this is a phenomenon similar to symbiosis. Right now, he looks very small and harmless. A protector with the name Big Male was predetermined. Seongun died and was reincarnated into Yunil's family. However, he has been revived with most of his memories and stripped of all his power." Jun Jiang said longingly, "We'll be back in Korea soon." And Trang responded with excitement, "Yeah, just thinking about it is thrilling." She asked curiously, "I'm a little curious. What are you going to do when we get there?" He paused, lost in thought, then replied solemnly, "There's a lot to do." A sword suddenly materialized in his hand. It emitted a brilliant golden light, radiating an extraordinary aura, clearly no ordinary object. And Trang observed it with curiosity. "What kind of weapon is that? A magic tool?" "The amount of mana is incredible." Jun Jiang held the sword aloft, admiring it. Yunil did a good job. He then answered her, "It's a gift." It was as if a heavy stone had dropped on her mind, startling in Trang. She gritted her teeth, each word forced out, "A gift." Her face darkened. Her mood became somber. "I see," she said, her voice laced with jealousy. "What are you planning to do when we get to Korea?" And Trang's voice dripped with bitterness. "Give it to your secret lover, I presume. Are you spacing out?" June, snapping back to reality, awkwardly scratched his head, avoiding the girl's gaze. Yeah, right. I'll give it to her." In Chang's face contorted in annoyance and frustration. He felt a pang of confusion as she silently turned and walked away. What a strange reaction. The group trudged through the freezing snow. They stopped at their destination. Gun gasped, "Is this the wall?" With determined strides, Junkie Hong approached the wall. He drifted into a memory. "I promised I would open this wall once a month. And it's been over a month, hasn't it?" Then he placed his hand on the surface, a surge of mana, radiating outwards. "Waiting is a waste of time. I've become much stronger than anticipated." His gaze sharpened. "I can open it without anyone's help." Gathering his strength, he warned in a low voice, "Stand back." With a final word, Jun Jung unleashed all his power, causing the energy wall to tremble violently. Two raging energy forces intertwined, and the entire wall suddenly blazed with brilliant light. He gritted his teeth, feeling the intense strain, his own strength insufficient to withstand the overwhelming surge of mana. If he used the Dragon Heart, he feared it would drain all of Songin's energy. Cracks seemed to appear on the Dragon Heart, signaling its imminent collapse. The mana flow became chaotic and furious at the northern front. The area was enveloped in a biting, icy blizzard. Like a thick fog, it obscured visibility, leaving the scene on the watchtower only faintly visible. Seojin appeared, his expression serious, assessing the situation. "This is rare lately." The man beside him looked puzzled. "Rare? What do you mean?" Seojin explained. "Those AI monsters, of course. After that person arrived at the front, monster attacks have become quite rare." He suddenly understood. "Ah, you mean that underdog? Must be a coincidence." Jean said nothing more, furrowing his brow in thought. The cold, ruthless image of Jun Jung suddenly flashed in his mind. Jean smiled, trying to appear casual. Who knows? Maybe he got lucky and escaped those ferocious monsters in North Korea. Perhaps. Hearing this, he immediately refuted, his tone firm. "Impossible. Even for a super AI, that's beyond prediction. How can anyone know? That hero, I'm afraid he fell long ago." He was lost in thought when suddenly Seojin gasped. "Hey, look, He asked, bewildered. What is it? Both of their eyes widened in horror. The boundary is transforming. A blazing red stream of mana incinerated the fortified wall. It spread with terrifying speed. Before their astonished eyes, the wall gradually vanished like smoke. Inside the garrison, towering buildings with modern, magnificent architecture stood. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air. A deep voice echoed, laced with amusement. This coffee is piping hot. Intrang lifted the cup, took a small sip, and sighed contentedly. Excellent. Is this coffee always this incredibly delicious? Jun Jiang agrees. It truly is top-notch, isn't it? Suddenly, someone approaches. Seo Jin asks curiously. The group that accompanied you is in the hall. Could you tell me who they are? The man calmly introduces them. They are North Korean survivors, completely trustworthy. Seo Jin is astonished. North Korean? Does that mean? It seems he already guessed what Seo Jin is thinking and confirms, yes, they are all hunters. Seo Jin is startled, utterly surprised. All of them are hunters. Meanwhile, in the hall, all the residents are gathered, their eyes fixed on Yunyul and Kuin standing on the podium. The young girl begins to speak. Everyone, please be quiet and listen. From now on, things will be very comfortable. They cheerfully respond, yes. Jun Jiang stands to the side, quietly observing her. It seems the curse that bound her has finally been lifted. The power granted by the curse gave her extraordinary strength, but the constraint keeping her in a childlike form is now gone. She suddenly appears before everyone, confidently expressing her thoughts. He approaches her and asks Amiru, do you have some free time? Drawn by his voice, she turns around, her cheeks flushing a charming shade of pink. Jun Jiwon gently takes her hand, politely saying, allow me to borrow everyone's master for a moment. Everyone enthusiastically responds, do whatever you want with her. No need to bring her back. Only Kuin watches them leave with worried eyes, his heart filled with unease. The two arrive at a quiet place, free from distractions. He's curious about her new appearance. Amiru explains the curse is gone. Jun Jiawon strokes his chin, lost in thought. Then he takes her wrist. Wait a moment. He says gently, this might hurt a little. She flinches, bewildered. The boy's pupils suddenly lit up, focusing intently, sensing the flow of magic, using mana to check the girl's physical condition. The atmosphere around them began to fluctuate, mana like an invisible thread connecting the two. Yunil, on guard, immediately pushed Jun away, questioning, what are you doing? The boy gravely remarked, kid, your power has weakened. The girl gasped, what? Immediately after, she decided to verify it herself, checking with her own power. Mana was activated, enveloping her entire body. A moment later, Yunil looked at her hands, her face filled with worry and astonishment. I really have become weaker? Why? Jun Jiang analyzed, I understand. Your power is at its peak only when you're near Jiangji village, because you can control the energy there. That's why you have a childlike appearance there. The girl's face darkened, consumed by sadness. Seeing this, the boy smiled comfortingly. Don't worry, I'm a hunter. I'll help you. Yumil was deeply touched by his sincere words. She hesitated for a moment, then dropped her hostile attitude and softly asked, so, what is it you're trying to say? He spoke, his voice calm and steady. Junji, please inform everyone to be prepared. People from the government and the Hunter Association will be coming soon. They'll ask a lot of questions about me, about the people at John's, and about J2. The image of Kuin fighting the monsters flashed through his mind. Their abilities are far greater than anyone expected if they all joined the association at once, especially with your father's incredible power to cut down enemies. His voice remained even, without a trace of emotion. Everyone will be very excited. But the problem is, Yumil understood what Junji was worried about. Are they trustworthy? She asked anxiously. He nodded in affirmation. Yes. There's a possibility of being expelled from South Korea or being forced into unfair contracts with the government. And the Asuka Association, or he suddenly thought of the man with the dark, sinister aura of Asuka. Chairman Jang Huijin of the Asuka Association, the one who was most likely to appear. He would definitely covet the power everyone possessed. Junu made an offer, still mindful of the villagers' feelings. I will provide everyone with useful things. Of course, The right to agree or refuse rests entirely with the villagers. Junu and Yunil wondered what was happening outside. Sunlight streamed down on the towering buildings. A luxurious car pulled up, stopping beside a building. A burly man with bulging muscles, dressed in a sleek black suit and sunglasses, stepped out of the car. Sang-soo suddenly realized something. He spread his arms wide, welcoming the man. "Long time no see." Hunter Lee Jun, the hero, returned from China. He politely replied, "It's been a while since that orientation, hasn't it?" He smiled, praising him. He also admitted that the impression he left was quite unforgettable. A seasoned hunter who flawlessly completed a perilous mission and returned in glory, even rescuing and bringing back survivors from as far as North Korea. Not just a mere hunter. Jun Ji also deduced their scheme. He reasoned that the association is one step ahead, just as anticipated. Sang-soo's expression suddenly turned serious, filled with contemplation. However, there's still a lingering question. Can we truly place our complete trust in them? Therefore, the association chairman made a proposition. Stay vigilant. Asuka approached Sang-soo, who then turned his head to look back. He relayed Asuka's perspective. "We've been informed that all of the survivors in North Korea are skilled hunters. That's precisely why the association chairman wishes to sign a contract with them." Jun Ji inquired, "A mana contract?" He hesitated for a moment. Yes, it's the M contract. Is a contract that allows them to use people as slaves by enforcing the brutal punishments detailed in the agreement. He suddenly recalled the contents of the contract, then offered a polite smile. "I'm afraid they signed a contract with me first." Sang-soo, startled, exclaimed in surprise, "What?" Jun-gu calmly explained, "I always keep them with me as a precaution. That's the reason I sign a mana contract with them. You know, a person can only sign one covenant in their lifetime." Hearing that, he stroked his chin thoughtfully for a moment before making a decision. "I will report back to the chairman." "Please wait a moment." He felt amused. "I wonder how Odin will react. I guess I'll find out soon." Inside the auditorium, Jong-gu's people were gathering. They had changed into athletic wear. Gun exclaimed, "These clothes are so comfortable." Having everyone's cooperation made the move much smoother. Lavish trays, overflowing with a variety of delicious dishes, were spread across the table, making everyone's mouths water. Everyone ate, chatted, and reminisced about the past, tears welling up in their eyes. "Back in Jeonji village, we only ate sweet potatoes, and we thought that was paradise." In-chong also chimed in with praise. "The food here is truly delicious." Jun Ji agreed. "Yeah." Thinking to himself, "Back in Chung, we never had anything this good." She felt truly relaxed, enjoying this moment of ease. "But every time we move, I feel restless and uneasy." He smiled slightly. "Sounds like someone's eager to go hunting." Considering In-chong's abilities, she truly was a remarkable hunter. After finishing their meal, Jun Ji stood up, carrying his tray. "Things are going to get busy when we get back, just like when we were preparing for the Hercules competition." She immediately became flustered. "Whatever." Moments later, he stood atop a large boulder, not far from the crumbling building. From above, he surveyed his surroundings. His eyes, dark and brooding, seemed to pierce through the bleak future of this place. Not just here, but the entire world would eventually crumble into ashes and decay. It was inevitable, a predetermined end. Lost in thought, Yoongi silently turned and walked away. He resolved to savor the remaining moments he had. Suddenly, he froze, his body stiffening. His face paled, and beads of cold sweat trickled down his cheeks. An unprecedented sense of danger washed over him, engulfing him completely. Before him, Yunil appeared, silently, as if she had been standing there for a long time. Yunil's calm voice echoed, calling out the name Jong-soo. Jong-soo stammered, bewildered. "Huh? What? What did you say?" "My name is Jong-soo." The expression on his face turned serious. Jong-soo couldn't suppress his suspicion any longer and questioned Yunil. "Why? Why did you conceal your identity?" Even now, he was still in shock. "I had no idea, not until she approached. Even though I can sense most magical currents, along with the fluctuations of mana." A worry gnawed at him. What if she was an enemy? My life could be in danger. Yumil introduced, "This is my special ability." Jun Jiang was confused. "Skill? What?" "Regardless, what's your purpose in coming to me? State your intentions clearly." "I still have one question. What's your next plan?" "We don't know. According to the magic contract, what do you want us to do?" "Many people are worried about this." Jun Jiang calmly replied, "First, we'll go to Seoul." He remembered Hyojin's calculating expression as she was strategizing. Odin must have grasped the situation by now. The villagers of Chanji have signed a magic contract with me. As long as I'm allied with Asgard, they will also be allies of Asgard. Therefore, they won't be able to stop me. But that wasn't what she truly wanted to ask. Yunil pressed further. I want to know the whole story, including what happened afterward. Jun Jae-young had no intention of hiding anything, and answered frankly, I want the people of Chanji village to fulfill the duty they should. Hearing the word duty, Yunil immediately became wary, a sense of unease rising within her. Noticing her anxiety, Jun Jae-young quickly reassured her. Don't worry, I won't force them to do anything against their will. It's just that, with great power comes great responsibility. I only wish for them to fulfill their obligations. Hearing that, Yunil breathed a sigh of relief, temporarily trusting Jun Jae-young's words. She thought to herself, it seems I can place my trust in him, at least for now. After all her questions were thoroughly answered, she left. Suddenly, the system displayed a notification. Dragon Heart has stabilized. Jun Jae-young exhaled a plume of smoke. The newly absorbed energy finally fully integrated. He clenched his fist, a flicker of curiosity in his eyes, wondering just how strong he had become. He recalled the awe-inspiring image, an earth-shattering power of Domitius. Though uncertain, he felt confident he could defeat Hercules, even at his most ferocious. Jun Jae-young smiled, brimming with confidence. He was certain he had become much stronger. Co Jin rushed over, respectfully addressing him. Sir, he reported, someone from the association has come see you. What he had been waiting for had finally arrived. Returning to the auditorium, a man with a gleaming bald head, reflecting the shimmering lights. Jun Jae-young greeted his old acquaintance. How have you been? Song-gu replied in a friendly tone. I'm doing great. How about you? He hadn't yet touched upon the Song-gu asked with a surprised look. What are you so shocked about? Jun Jae-young rubbed the back of his neck and joked. I've always wanted to say this. I've been working very hard and diligently, so let's just forget about it. He was annoyed but relented. Fine, I'll let you off the hook, but just this once. Enough with the chit-chat. Let's get down to business. Why are you late? So, what did the association say? Song-gu took a deep breath, then exhaled heavily with a discouraged expression. We're in big trouble. Most of the ASGA members have returned to South Korea. Jun Jae-young was stunned by this information. Oh, he slowly relayed the situation. What I heard after that was even more shocking. A special gate is a sign of an impending large-scale outbreak. Images of all sorts of ferocious monsters flashed through his mind. The gate spawns monsters that are much stronger than usual. Therefore, the consequences are far more catastrophic once activated. This type of gate has appeared not only in, but also spread across the globe. The planes soared across the clear blue sky. As a result, many seasoned hunters from all corners of the world returned home after the unexpected attack. No one knew the true meaning of these mysterious gates, but even a powerful god like Odin recognized this as an extremely serious matter and summoned all the heroes to a conference. CEO Song-gu gave a reminder about the upcoming schedule, stating that an important meeting would take place in the next few days. Of course, we'll also be discussing you, he said in a low voice, his gaze directed downward. We hope you'll return. The residents of Jeonju are gathering, his voice filled with emotion. But unexpectedly, you've brought a gold mine with you. Jun-gu also directed his gaze towards the hunters from Jeonju following it. They were likened to a priceless treasure, a true gold mine. Possessing such a large number of hunters meant wielding immense power. Song-gu's expression turned serious, emphasizing, but the crucial point is the one holding that gold mine is you. Song-gu's expression turned serious, a hint of worry crossing his features. A mana contract isn't just a simple agreement. It carries a much deeper purpose. It's an absolute binding of loyalty and unconditional obedience to the master. You've brought these hunters back from the desolate, dark wasteland, and now they belong entirely to you, becoming your loyal subordinates. He clenched his hand, his tone carrying a clear warning. This action will make you a target for countless enemies, attracting unwanted attention. All the other factions will see you as a formidable opponent, even an enemy that needs to be eliminated. After all, a mana contract and establishing a guild are two entirely different concepts. You need to understand this clearly. Junji listened silently to Song-gu's words, his face pensive. Then he gave a gentle smile, seemingly unconcerned. It's all right. I'm still a member of Asuka, right? Songgu sighed helplessly, but nodded in affirmation. Yes, that's right. Casting aside their worries, they embraced each other joyfully, displaying their deep friendship. He patted Junji on the back, a sincere welcome. Welcome back safely. The sky was a brilliant blue. Fluffy white clouds drifted lazily, bathed in the warm, radiant sunlight. Outside the building, buses were parked tightly together, and a few people stood guard. Inside, Junji and Songgu stood on a platform. Junji loudly announced this would be the final trip. The people of Zhongxian expressed their sadness. I could go on 100 more trips like this. Just eating, sleeping, and cleansing. Yeah, but I'm feeling a bit tired too. Junji gently reminded everyone they'd be busy soon, so they should rest while they could. Suddenly, Songgu noticed someone. They eagerly expressed their faith. I believe in you. He pointed down below, curiously asking Junji, who's that woman? The woman he was referring to was Yunyul. The hunters call her Saint, or something like that. You didn't come to Zhongxian for her, did you? Junji smiled softly, replying with certainty. Well, I guess that wouldn't be wrong. Hearing this, Songgu was stunned into silence. Seeing the misunderstanding, Junji quickly corrected himself. I was just kidding. Inchon suddenly cut in, affirming, yeah, she was just joking. Junji didn't go there for Yunyul. Her words caught everyone's attention. She frowned, her face clearly showing annoyance. There's no shortage of women here. If Yunyul is the woman he's hiding. Mid-sentence, she abruptly stopped, as if thinking of something. Her mood soured. Could it be he has other women overseas? How many rivals do I have? He shivered involuntarily. Why do I suddenly have chills down my spine? Mr. Gu, sitting in the car, suddenly felt awkward. I just heard her thoughts. The surrounding natural scenery was peaceful. The blue of the sky, the earth, and the grass blended together, creating a beautiful picture. A gentle breeze blew, causing the windmills to slowly turn. Buses followed one another, speeding down the road, and gradually entered the bustling downtown area with a series of architectural marvels. The deeper they went, the more crowded the streets became. The atmosphere was bustling with an unusual energy. The people of Zhongji were awestruck by the unfamiliar, never-before-seen sights. The warm sunlight gently illuminated the magnificent skyscrapers. The sky was a brilliant blue. People bustled about, and the vibrant energy of city life filled every corner. Countless vehicles flowed through the streets, their horns blaring incessantly. Everyone was stunned, having never witnessed such wonders before. It all seemed beyond their comprehension. Junji stood beside them, lost in thought. Why is everyone so quiet? He wondered. Feeling worried, he turned to Hyo and said, Hyo Nuna, please take care of everyone. But he was startled by her even more astonished reaction. Her eyes sparkled, and her jaw dropped in amazement. Junji sighed, understanding their situation. Is she the same? It must be because she's lived in the mountains all her life. He thought to himself, this must be the first time she's encountered modern civilization. Jung reluctantly had to entrust this responsibility to someone else. Please use the information in this handbook to guide the people of Zhongji. Just follow the association's personnel. The girl immediately agreed. Jung suddenly remembered Penria, the creature he needed to be most concerned about right now. You have to follow the instructions in the handbook, understand? The young Penria looked up, gritted his teeth, and growled in annoyance. Jung gently patted the boy's head, comforting and calming him. You can feel it too, can't you? From the rooftop, a dangerous aura was emanating. Looking up, it was Hyojin standing with his arms crossed behind his back, silently observing them. Jung looked up, meeting Hyojin's gaze. Seeing this, Hyojin smirked, a sinister expression on his face. Jung didn't know what Hyojin was up to, but he immediately raised his guard. He knelt on one knee in front of Penria. There's one thing you need to remember very clearly from this moment on. He instructed seriously. It's how to control and use the power of your fangs when necessary. The boy listened intently to every word Junji said, his eyes fixed on him. You must also keep this a secret. Fenrir responded without hesitation, his expression full of trust and determination. Yes, Junji, the city. This magnificent modern city was a stark contrast to the small, peaceful village where Jong-gu's group had once lived. Hyojin had been waiting for a long time. When he appeared, he gave a warm, welcoming smile. he exclaimed excitedly. You've brought so many interesting things. Jun Jiang looked curious, raising an eyebrow as he asked. Oh, Hyojin calmly listed hundreds of hunters. 2 were called heroes, and 3 unusual things. Jun Jiang speculated inwardly, but his expression remained unchanged. He must be talking about Unneil and Manhwa, he thought. The 2 hero-ranked hunters and the 3 unusual things, Fenrir and Sung Jinwoo, are obvious. But what's the third? As if reading his mind, Hyojin stepped closer, placed a hand on his shoulder, and said, It's you. You're the third. He was incredibly curious about your recent journey. I want to discuss China with you. But first, we have a few things to do. With that, a surge of magical energy, a brilliant golden hue emanated from them, spreading outwards. In the blink of an eye, they were transported to another space. Hyojin led the way, walking forward. Jun Jiang and Songgu leisurely followed behind. Songgu felt a thrill of anticipation. Today, we will introduce you to Asgard and hold a meeting. I'm sure they are eager to meet you. All the heroes of Asgard are present here. You're excited too, aren't you? I understand. In a magnificent, palatial building, radiating a brilliant golden light, all members of the association were gathered. A voice rang out, laced with sarcasm. I hear some idiots about to be introduced. Grumbles rippled through the surrounding crowd. What is Odin planning? He can't possibly allow a fool to set foot in Asgard. They huddled in small groups, whispering and gossiping relentlessly. I heard he's been improving at an incredible rate. Apparently, he even set foot in China. What a lunatic, utterly foolish. Suddenly, one of them gasped in terror. I sense an immense power approaching. Everyone turned their gaze towards the mysterious energy source, their eyes filled with arrogance and judgment. Suddenly, one of them cried out in utter horror. He seemed unable to believe what he was witnessing. Wait, what in the world? They all realized the unbelievable anomaly. Panic erupted throughout the crowd. Odin and Hindu, and another terrifying energy signature. Impossible. I thought he was just a rookie. His face paled. A chill ran down his spine, and sweat poured down him like rain. How could this new recruit be so powerful? Just as they were lost in their doubts, the door suddenly burst open. Rapid footsteps echoed, followed by a surge of incredibly powerful magical energy. It's a pleasure to meet you all. Jun Jiang appeared with crimson pupils, gleaming with a bloodthirsty savagery. His entire body was enveloped in a potent magical aura, abundant and brimming with danger. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Underdog, Li Jun Jiang, he said politely. In the heart of the city, a brilliant pillar of light shot up into the sky, catching everyone's attention. A man stood before a dimensional gate, guarding it vigilantly. Perhaps it's time for them to appear. The first to step out was Cohen. Following him were the residents of Janji. An intense magical energy gradually enveloped the gate, causing it to shrink and finally vanish completely before the watchful eyes of the crowd. Swyong praised them. Everyone did a great job. Gun responded politely. Thank you for your patience, members of the association. He smiled, gently explaining. Thanks to everyone's efforts, the gate has been secured, and the people can live in peace. Everyone thought to themselves, this White Tiger team is truly different from the others. Not only talented, but they also have wonderful personalities. Yunil put her arm around Songen, gently reminding him, there are still many other gates that need protecting. Let's head to the next location, shall we? Suyin looked surprised, thinking to herself, even if they don't fully understand the procedures, shouldn't everyone want to rest a little? There's no need to work continuously all day. She smiled brightly and cheerfully refused. No need. We're still full of energy. Quickly lead us to the next location. He was a bit flustered by her radiant smile, stammering, "Oh, okay." At the location of the special spatial gate, the gloomy sky was stained a deep crimson, like blood, exuding a terrifying, demonic aura. Sharp, jagged rocks, like colossal sword blades, pierced the sky. And Trang was bravely charging into the midst of the ferocious monsters. She swung her greatsword, larger than her own stature, slashing them into pieces. The system suddenly announced, the prince's magic power is assisting. Statistics are being displayed. Taking advantage of an opening, a monster stealthily approached in Trang from behind. It raised its sharp claws, about to strike her down. But in that split second, a giant hand appeared, gripping the monster's head tightly. Gongdu tightened his fist, focusing all his strength, delivering a fatal blow, piercing through the monster's head. At the same time, Hyunmu summoned a bright mana sphere. The energy sphere was launched with terrifying speed, aimed precisely at another monster. Delicate threads formed from mana, soft yet powerful, tightly wrapped around the monster's body. Wanhwa yanked his hand, tearing the monster into countless fragments. The system interface suddenly appeared. Dong Bang, the brilliant Grand Doctor, assisted in the power evolution process, causing one's strength to explode, leaping to new heights. Junji gripped his sword tightly, his eyes sharp. He charged into the horde of monsters pouring down from the sky, like a lightning bolt tearing through the night. He unleashed a critical blow right into the heart of the swirling mana current. The energy diffused powerfully, wiping out all the surrounding monsters in a flash. The familiar sound of the system rang out once more. The revelation signal appeared in the sky again. Junji unconsciously showed a frustrated expression. Why do I always have to carry the team? His train of thought was interrupted by a notification. His teammates had leveled up. Junji sighed, accepting his fate. He couldn't hate his friends after all. In moments, the horde of monsters was completely annihilated. Not a single one remained on the battlefield. The 5 members of the group gathered together. Injang spoke up, offering his perspective. Perhaps it's because we're hunting monsters at a high-level gate. However, the sponsors will definitely be very interested in our group. He was extremely confident in the team's strength. It's a special gate containing formidable S-rank monsters. But with our current forces, we have more than enough. I'm sure everyone agrees with this viewpoint. She and Wanho both nodded in agreement. Junhyung, not wanting them to be blinded by these small victories, causing them to become complacent, spoke up in warning. The stronger we become, the more we'll face even more unique spatial gates. The current world is overflowing with magic. His face turned serious. A great flood will soon arrive. Hearing that, he was startled, and Trang had a similar reaction. He turned around, praising them, but not forgetting to remind them. Both of you are very strong, but you still need to cultivate more diligently. Suddenly, she chased after him, stopping Lee Jungyo. Wait, her expression was full of curiosity. Where are you going? It looks like you're about to leave. He calmly shared his plans. I'm considering taking a short trip around the world. And he looked quite surprised. She hesitated, uncertain. A short trip? Around the world? She carefully observed Jungyeon's expression, searching for any sign of deception. The man who just seriously warned about an impending catastrophic flood now wants to travel the world? Unbelievable. Of course, he deserves a break. After making sure nothing seemed amiss, Inti reluctantly accepted this explanation. Right? A break is best right now. She smiled and replied, all right. Seeing her reaction, Yoongun smiled slightly. If I tried to explain further, she would definitely misunderstand. After meeting with a few other friends, Ding Ding's mood was much lighter thanks to Inti. He instructed, from now on, everyone can cooperate with the White Tiger group. I'll leave Fenrir here as well. The boy looked dubious and questioned, Jun Jian solemnly entrusted young Fenrir with a vital task. Take good care of the White Tiger group. There'll be crucial reinforcements in the coming times. The boy nodded in agreement. Clenching his fist, he silently made a resolution. I told everyone this was an adventure, but in truth, this is my responsibility, my duty. He gazed towards the distant horizon, thinking to himself, as someone with knowledge from the future, I must shoulder this burden. The sky was painted with the romantic hues of a reddish-pink sunset. Jun Jian's voice carried on the wind. I need to meet with Odin in the next few days. He borrowed the use of the elves' Bifrost this time. It's been a while. He added a caring warning. Be careful. I'm surprised Odin agreed to that. He then explained the reason. Because I made a pact with Odin. He gasped a pact. He affirmed, yes. I offered him what he desired most. Songgu looked at him, lost in thought. The imposing image of Hyojin surfaced in his mind. The almighty Odin wouldn't easily allow a mortal to use the Bifrost. However, it was because of the pact that was made that Li Junjiang was granted this privilege, and that pact involved the mysterious man in the black cloak. He was shrouded in dark magic, his face hidden in shadow, his features indiscernible. After returning from China, He revealed top-secret information to Odin, completely different from the accounts of the survivors. Time rewound to the past. Jun Jiang recounted what he had witnessed. On this journey, there's a person known as the Man in Black operating in secrecy. He not only destroyed China, but also ravaged the village of Jiangji. This information was enough to pique Odin's interest, awakening his desire to confront a formidable opponent. His eyes lit up with excitement and anticipation. Investigate the identity of the Man in Black. We as Guardians will give you our full support without hesitation. This meant that all of Asgard would cooperate with Underdog. The more help, the better. Amidst the clear, peaceful blue sky, a shimmering point of 7 rainbow colors suddenly appeared, sparkling like a star. A brilliant, magnificent rainbow bridge stretched across the sky. Junwoo calmly landed on the ground. Just then, a man approached him and said, "I've been waiting for you." Though slightly surprised, Junwoo maintained his composure. "It's an honor to meet you, One-Sword Knight Lancelot." Inwardly, he couldn't help but gasp in astonishment beyond his wildest imagination. He thought they would only send an administrator from the council. "Come on, don't be so formal. I've already greeted you." Underdog thought to himself, "Lancelot, it's an honor to meet you." He replied politely, "One of the legendary knights of the Round Table. I finally get to meet him." Just before, the symbol of a large shield and 2 cross swords appeared. It was the emblem of the legendary Round Table, a secret British organization with a philosophy about the world, completely different from other organizations. Unlike other organizations, which seek to control humanity under the guise of saving it, there's the Asgard Association. Under the leadership of Hyojin, the Round Table chooses neutrality, staying out of the conflicts. They possess unparalleled power, yet choose to silently observe, not interfering in worldly affairs, not siding with good, nor aligning with evil. The extraordinary power of the Round Table originates from Merlin, the central figure, the soul of the entire group. A young woman with hair like spun gold and eyes like sparkling emeralds. On one hand, we have Arthur, the protector, in the form of a child. But even without her, the Round Table still possesses formidable strength. This is because the Round Table has a special branch of knights. Only a select few exceptional individuals can join the ranks of these knights, and each of them is more powerful than any ordinary hero. This knight squad is led by a coffin knight, who is also the strongest warrior among them, and they always play a crucial role in resolving the crises that occur throughout Britain. Back to the present. A peaceful atmosphere enveloped the city under the warm sunlight. Lancelot flashed a friendly smile, expressing his thoughts. "Because Merlin takes a special interest in you. Everyone is very curious about you, Underdog. Myself included. I also want to know more about you." However, his demeanor didn't fool Jong Hyun. His eyes held a clear animosity. This must have something to do with Merlin. Lancelot was notorious for his unrequited love for Merlin, the leader of the Round Table. However, Merlin did not reciprocate these intense feelings. From that point on, their relationship completely crumbled, irreparably broken. He became frantic, seemingly losing his mind, lost in despair. But not because Lancelot was a traitor or anything of the sort, but because his obsession with her had spiraled out of control. Recalling the gossip of others, he heard them say, "Rumor has it that most of the trouble the Round Table faces stems from Lancelot." A feeling of unease, of misfortune, washed over him, and he thought to himself, "I think I just stepped in bad luck." June, seeing this, tried to explain, to salvage the situation. "I simply wanted to keep my promise to Merlin." He started, but was rudely interrupted. "Did you just say promise?" He sighed in frustration. "I can't believe even this is enough to anger Lancelot." "What do you mean?" Jun Jiayong asked sternly, suspicion etched on his face. "I came here to see Merlin on official business. I know you're here to guide me, but you're being incredibly rude. You remain completely indifferent, not only refusing to admit your mistake, but brazenly arguing back. What did I lose?" Jun Jiayong questioned, his tone laced with insinuation. If a knight isn't even aware of his own failings, is he truly worthy of the title? Lancelot slammed his fist on the table in a fit of rage. The cups on the table rattled from the impact. Lancelot's face darkened, his eyes fixed on Jun Jiayong with a menacing glare. "How dare you insult me?" Jun Jiayong calmly crossed his arms, stating with certainty, "Merlin, she's definitely watching all of this. Isn't she? After all, in this Round Table, the only place she can't see, Only private rooms are available. Gritting his teeth to suppress his rage, he declared loudly, his voice laced with discontent. I don't know how far Master Chow's reputation reaches, but as a knight, I cannot ignore your humiliating actions. Suddenly, a commanding voice boomed, ordering, "Stop!" Lancelot startled and turned around. He wasn't surprised. He had anticipated this. She appeared, tiny motes of light hovering in the air. Merlin materialized before the two men. She took her seat with dignity behind her desk. He bowed respectfully. "Your Highness, Merlin." Junjung also stood up, his eyes fixed on her. Corrected name, based on likely pronunciation. "Please double-check." She coldly reminded Lancelot. "You're being disrespectful to my guest." He flinched, utterly astonished. Even Merlin was surprised. This ignited a flame of jealousy within him. In a moment of losing control to his emotions, he roared defiantly, "You underdog, I challenge you to a duel." Merlin frowned and jumped up to stop Lancelot. "What do you think you're doing?" But Junjiang calmly replied, "Fine." She looked surprised and a little confused. Before they could change their minds, he quickly decided, "Then let's go to the training room." They all headed towards the arena. Whispers and murmurs filled the air. Lancelot again. What's he causing trouble about this time? Someone seemed excited, eagerly saying, "It's been a while since we've seen a good fight, hasn't it?" The person next to him seemed less enthusiastic. "Lancelot will win anyway. Who can beat him?" He replied with a single, precise word. "Underdog." The others, overhearing this, immediately changed their tune. "The underdog of Asgard? Oh, this is a big deal then." Just then, footsteps echoed from afar, and one appeared. All the knights froze, stunned in astonishment. "Sir Gawain and Sir Galahad have arrived. The supreme leaders of the renowned Round Table have graced us with their presence." They simultaneously raised their hands in a formal military salute. "Greetings, Sir Gawain." He gave a warm smile and clapped the young knight on the shoulder approvingly. "Well done." They observed the scene that had just unfolded, then exclaimed in admiration, "Truly magnificent. Indeed, he is worthy of being a knight of the famed Round Table." On the other side of the arena, the match between Lancelot and Junjiang was about to begin. The two heroes stood facing each other, their weapons gripped tightly. The atmosphere became oppressive, thick with tension. Lancelot was brimming with confidence in his own abilities. He also uses a spear as his weapon. Interesting, but I don't think this will be an ordinary match. One was also watching the match intently. A contest between two master spearmen from the east and west. This is sure to be a fascinating duel. Lancelot gracefully placed his hand on his chest and bowed his head slightly. "I express my deepest gratitude to all of you for coming to watch my match." The onlookers were impressed, giving him their respect. They cheered wildly in response. He smirked, arrogance etched across his face, reveling in the spreading adulation. Junjiang, without any reservation, mocked him, "My dear Sir Lancelot, I'm starting to wonder if I should address you as a valiant knight or a flamboyant entertainer. With your recent actions, you seem more like a jester. Therefore, I'm not entirely sure if the title, sir, still befits you." Lancelot frowned, his displeasure evident. His aura shifted. Mana began to surge around him. "I've heard rumors that in these duels, we're allowed to kill our opponents." His eyes narrowed, a savage glint appearing as he confirmed. Indeed, he stood ready to fight, his tone arrogant. "This is a duel to the death, where your life could be forfeit at any moment. Initially, I intended to show mercy to spare your life, but perhaps I won't need to intervene after all." Junjung wasn't fazed by the provocation, remaining calm and collected as he listened to his opponent. "You truly are an arrogant and selfish noble." He was even composed enough to insult Lancelot. "Are you mocking me, you phony knight?" Lancelot, enraged, he lunged forward with lightning speed. Yet Junjung remained calmly in place, waiting. His eyes gleamed sharply, observing his opponent. Lancelot was known as the one-strike knight, capable of piercing anything with a single attack. True to the rumors, his thrust was incredibly powerful. Regardless of his personality, he was truly a formidable warrior. However, as the spear, imbued with ferocious magic power, lunged forward, Junjung precisely parried the blow with his own spear. Lancelot's attack was stopped dead. He couldn't advance any further. The entire audience was utterly astonished by the unbelievable sight. Impossible. He just blocked a fatal attack just by touching the tip of the spear. Incredible. Lancelot's spear was completely stopped, frozen in midair. Lancelot himself was greatly shaken. only now realizing the perilous situation. Beads of cold sweat poured down his face. He strained with all his might, trying to push the spear forward, but to no avail. I can't believe it. I can't move the spear. Meanwhile, Jun Jiang remained in a firm stance, as if blocking that terrifying attack was a trivial matter. Seeing that the match had gone completely off script, a powerful voice boomed. Enough. Jun Jiang, startled, turned sharply towards the source of the sound. A dignified man stepped forward, introducing himself. I am Knight One, a member of the Round Table. Jun Jiang had to deal with Lancelot, and also focus his attention on the newcomer. One, with his polite words and gestures, he was one of the 6 knights. 6 years after awakening as a hunter, he slaughtered monsters like a man possessed. Their bodies were torn to shreds, scattered across the ground. Yet, he remained imposing, his body drenched in the monster's blood. And from that day forward, he was known as the 6th Knight. The 2 spearheads separated. Zhang Jiaiga casually lowered his hand, as there was no reason to continue the fight. Lancelot's knees buckled, crashing onto the ground. His face darkened, his kneeling posture pathetic. One step forward, rousing him. Lancelot, learn to assess your own strength and that of your opponent. He retorted indignantly. How dare you insult me? One ignored his meaningless words and turned to instruct. Galahad, help Lancelot clean this place up. Yes, sir. He obeyed dutifully. He slowly rose to his feet, though resentment filled his heart. He bowed his head and bitterly admitted, I lost. Jun took note, a warning bell ringing in his mind. This man was definitely not an opponent he could underestimate. From the very beginning, he had quickly grasped and analyzed his strength. He turned and walked away, but his eyes couldn't help but glance back, assessing cautiously. To neutralize Lancelot's magical attack with a single move, with such a fatal finishing blow, his power was truly formidable. It seemed Asgard was about to gain another exceptional talent. The rumors of him defeating Heracles were clearly not unfounded. Just moments later, peace had returned to a different location. Jun Ji stood facing Merlin, his gaze resolute. Just this once, he sincerely pledged, I decided to fight for my own reasons, and there won't be a second time. Jun Ji fell silent, lost in thought. Merlin had complete control over the Round Table, including the leader of the noble knights. This meant every member obeyed her commands without question. So if Merlin wanted, she could easily arrange for him to never face the Lancelot lineage. The memory of the recent battle flashed before him. Yet, Merlin wanted us to fight, Jun Ji mused, and I agreed, because I have my own purpose. He pointed at Merlin, his tone turning serious. I did it to repay my debt to you. Merlin raised an eyebrow, a skeptical look on her face. You're a surprisingly straightforward man. Didn't you participate in the battle out of your own desire? Jun Ji awkwardly scratched his cheek. I only accepted because I refused to be defeated. In truth, remember the moment our spears clashed. It was for you to witness how much my power has grown since I left China. And also to repay a debt of gratitude to Merlin. She just smiled faintly, dismissing those concerns. She got what she wanted after all. So consider us even now. That should be enough to teach Lancelot a lesson, shouldn't it? Fujimaru, your deduction is quite sound. Merlin surely recognized my increase in strength. So even knowing Lancelot would lose, she still let us fight. This proves she wanted Lancelot to be defeated. She frankly admitted her intentions. You're more perceptive than I thought. Indeed, I wanted you to defeat Lancelot. I'm not pleased with his arrogance. Therefore, I devised a plan. Lancelot possesses extraordinary potential. However, his arrogance and obsession with me. He needs an opportunity to mature and grow wiser. We need to use you as a stepping stone for his advancement. Merlin's eyes flickered. She reluctantly nodded in agreement. Very well, as you say. I will consider this as partial repayment for the debt you owe me. Merlin's figure vanished. But immediately, Arthur's form appeared. He spoke sternly, a reminder in his voice. The debt between us remains, from the promise you made to me years ago. Jun Jung softly called Arthur's name. He wanted to confirm whether he would keep his promise. Arthur outstretched his hand, summoning his sword. The sharp blade radiated a brilliant golden light. At first, Arthur's pupils contracted in astonishment. Then, rage erupted and violent mana surged forth. This is Excalibur? Are you joking with me? Jun Jung threw the sword towards Arthur. Take it, and do what you will with it. Whatever. The young man gripped the sword's hilt tightly. Arthur observed carefully, then spoke with irritation. This sword looks like an ordinary trinket filled with magic. You dare call this Excalibur? Are you mocking me? He felt insulted and roared in anger. With this cheap trick, you think you can fool me? Suddenly, Merlin hesitantly spoke. Arthur, hearing the familiar voice, he paused, his eyes involuntarily glancing behind him. Arthur was stunned, unable to believe his eyes. Merlin, he stared blankly at the sword in his hand, muttering, Is this really Excalibur? Doubt still lingered in his heart. The curse, has it been lifted? Merlin was still astonished by this unbelievable event. We were separated. Jun Jiayong smiled, gently correcting him. I kept my promise. Do you remember the images from the Demon King's memories? I once saw Excalibur. That sword definitely belonged to him. Arthur carefully examined the sword. Is this really the real sword? Jun Jiayong said regretfully. Unfortunately, it's just a replica. Both of them were startled and turned sharply towards Jun Jiayong. Explain its purpose. It was created to deceive your guardian, the Lady of the Lake. They only see what they want to see. So, as long as you two act according to their wishes, everything will be fine. Merlin seemed to have a sudden realization. I understand. Arthur was still confused. What are you talking about? She explained as briefly as possible. The Lady of the Lake is the one who wants us to retrieve Excalibur, Arthur. However, we don't know what Excalibur truly looks like. We only know that it exists in the form of a sword. Its true appearance remains a mystery, shrouded in secrecy. She turned her gaze towards Jun Jiayong and slowly continued. However, he knows the true form of Excalibur. That's why he created a replica of Excalibur, to deceive the guardian deity. He was certain his assumption was completely accurate. He pictured the legendary sword, Excalibur, the Sword of the Lake, a sacred blade that had rested at the bottom of a magical lake. For countless centuries, it had absorbed immense magical energy from the lake. Knowing this truth, we can partially recreate its power. Arthur was still doubtful, but he knew it was only a copy. But must we still be parted? Merlin replied. This is only a temporary separation. She had foreseen the outcome. The Lady of the Lake would soon realize it was a fake, and the curse would return to its original state. Hearing this, he flew into a rage. Before he could think it through, acting on impulse, he was already preparing to attack Jungyo. Is that so? Good thing Merlin stopped him just in time. Wait, she's much more cunning than him. I'm guessing that, even if it's a fake, it will still be effective for a certain amount of time. Isn't that right, underdog? Calm yourself and explain it to me in detail. It's not a matter of time. I created it to deceive them. Even if they realize the truth, they will still have to thoroughly investigate it to a certain degree. As long as you two don't leave this area, no, don't leave the round table, then the curse will be temporarily lifted. Jungyo, I will analyze for you the true purpose behind the sponsor placing the curse on you two. However, they also genuinely desire for you two to find Excalibur. Indeed, after everything is over, please remind me about this. All right, we're done here. Arthur covered his face, falling silent. Suddenly, he lowered his hands, his voice resolute. This isn't over. His expression turned serious. Lost in thought, Arthur had endured this curse far longer than Merlin, trapping him in the body of a child, while Merlin retained his adult form. So, it was understandable why he acted this way. Finally, Ju made up his mind. He smiled, clenching his fists, revealing, I'll tell you one more thing. The true location of Excalibur is a forest shrouded in mist, covered in a thick fog. Suddenly, a brilliant flash of light erupted, incredibly bright. Immediately after, a massive pillar of fire appeared, carrying scorching heat. It was as if space itself was being pierced. Demetrios clenched his fists, flames erupting fiercely. His face became incredibly ferocious. He attacked savagely. With a slight lean, he effortlessly dodged the powerful blow. The tremendous force from the punch grazed past him and slammed into the massive boulder behind. The boulder exploded into fragments, scattering everywhere. Shards erupted from Demetriad like bullets, but he didn't stop, continuing to charge forward with blood-red eyes. Demetriad seemed to have completely lost control, succumbing to a berserker rage. The entire area before him was devastated, reduced to rubble. Thick smoke and dust billowed up, obscuring everything. Amidst the chaos, Roy maintained a surprising calm, raising his sword and observing his opponent. Too slow, Roy exclaimed, unleashing a horizontal slash at Demetriad. Demetriad reacted with lightning speed, leaping high into the air to evade the attack. The sharp blade whistled past beneath him, narrowly missing its mark. He channeled all his power into his legs, preparing to launch a powerful counterattack. But suddenly, Demetriad realized something was amiss. Mana, Roy's mana had silently enveloped him without him noticing. Another blade flashed, sharp as lightning. A chilling whoosh echoed, signaling a fatal attack. Before he could react, a fatal sword plunged straight into his back. His body stiffened, veins bulging on Demetrius's face. His features contorted as he let out a scream of agony. In his eyes, once consumed by a blood-red hue, a tiny white that suddenly appeared. The white that gradually expanded, devouring all the red. Demetrius snapped out of his frenzy, his face paling as he collapsed his knees. The other man stood there, calmly watching, sword in hand. He seemed to have effortlessly taken down Demetrius. Now lucid Demetrius had lost all composure, slumping onto the filthy ground. He pointed at the sword, bewildered. That sword, what in the world is it? The other man sheathed his weapon and replied, I found it not long ago. Demi's eyes widened in astonishment. He stammered, disbelief etched on his face. You found something like that? He mentally replayed his humiliating defeat. The moment the cold blade touched his skin, he completely lost control of the magic within his body. Without explanation, the man abruptly changed the subject. Well, you become quite strong, so I'll let you off the hook for acting on your own, violating our agreement. He quickly seized the opportunity, confirming, so I won't be punished, right? But the man cruelly dashed his hopes. Wrong. I'm just letting it slide. Athena seems quite eager to punish you. Athena seems to have it in mind to discipline you. Hearing this, Demetrius jumped, whirling around to find her standing there with arms crossed, silent as a ghost in the night. Terror gripped him. How long has she been there? How could I not sense her presence? Athena looked at them indifferently, seemingly unconcerned with their conversation. With a puzzled look, Demetrius asked, What is it, Athena? Athena finally spoke. I have a few matters to report. She reintroduced a topic they had previously discussed, bringing up an issue Demetrius had mentioned a few days prior. Underdog. Demetrius jolted, the name sounding incredibly familiar. Underdog, he muttered with a pensive expression, as if lost in thought. Athena continued her report. After returning from China, he's currently in England. This is puzzling. Why England? She affirmed with certainty. That's correct. Then, she added a crucial piece of information. We still don't know why he's there. Athena paused briefly, then continued. He went to the round table. Demetrius furrowed his brow in thought. After analyzing the situation, he decided, all right. Then he ordered continue to monitor him. And Hercules, make sure he doesn't get distracted from his training. Athena placed a hand on her chest, respectfully replying, as you command. Demetrius nodded solemnly. I understand. I understand. They all chanted in unison. His gaze drifted into the distance, his mind plotting future schemes. The sky was a deep azure. Fluffy white clouds drifted lazily. Meanwhile, in the territory of the round table, a booming voice resonated. Arthur leaned against his hand, facing Junying, his expression serious. You say Roy possesses Excalibur? Are you certain that's true? The young man couldn't hide the doubt on his face, but he already has the Olympus lightning bolt. Why would he need that sword? Junying chuckled wryly, thinking to himself, lightning bolt, do that many people have that impression of Roy? He answered honestly, I don't know. Arthur narrowed his eyes at him, his face clearly showing displeasure. How dare you speak to me without using honorifics? He calmly replied, you didn't either. Junying feigned innocence, asking back, did I? Is there a problem? He fell silent, lost in thought, trying to formulate a counter-argument. Finally, he gave up in defeat, letting out a sigh. Arthur steered the conversation back to the main point. So, what are we going to do about Excalibur? His face turned towards June with an innocent expression. Why are you asking me? I already told you too where it's hidden. All that's left is for you to go and get it. Arthur was taken aback, completely surprised by this answer. But what about our promise? June calmly reminded him. You asked me to find Excalibur to lift the curse on you, and I think I've completed that task. Besides, you two still owe me for my services. Twice, actually. He lowered his head, lost in thought. This is quite troublesome. I don't think I will easily agree to negotiate handing over Excalibur. / assuming is a name. June remained calm, reassuring Arthur. Just stay calm. Well, I believe Merlin will find a solution. She's very clever. Hearing that, Arthur chuckled in agreement. Right, he's not stubbornly clinging to Excalibur anymore, and he even proactively asked for Junying's opinion. How you want us to repay your kindness? He thought to himself, Merlin is saying that she's busy with a meeting about restoring Excalibur. It would take too long to explain it to Arthur, who doesn't understand anything about magical power. Then he put on a mysterious air. When Merlin returns, I'll tell her. Just as he finished speaking, footsteps echoed nearby. Merlin slowly approached. Arthur immediately noticed and turned to look. She knew they were waiting for her. All right, go ahead and tell me. Zhenying was overjoyed. He wouldn't beat around the bush anymore, great. What I want. His face became serious, declaring something unthinkable is for both of you to survive. Arthur's eyes widened in a mixture of bewilderment and astonishment. He stammered, huh? Merlin mirrored his expression, unable to hide his surprise. Junji held out his hand, continuing to lay out his demands. I also want both of you to place your complete trust in me, he stated, and follow everything I say. If you agree to this condition, I will consider erasing the debt. Arthur, perplexed, voiced his question. Why are you making two demands for such a debt? Junji didn't answer Arthur's question, instead countering with his own. Are you about to die? I just want to make sure you survive. Arthur swallowed hard, a wave of unease washing over him. Merlin spoke up, accepting the demand. All right, we understand. However, I think we need a clearer explanation from you. A compelling reason for these requests. Junji calmly informed them. Soon enough, something significant is about to happen. Arthur asked suspiciously, what significant event? Junji solemnly relayed the truth. A special gate leading to a source of magic power. It's strange. I know you sense it too. This unease. Otherwise, you wouldn't have willingly joined the ranks of the Round Table Knights. Am I right? Morin frowned, admitting, you are. My instincts tell me something wicked this way comes. The magical density across the kingdom is increasing at an alarming rate. I gathered everyone because of that strange gate, he stated gravely. Exactly, and there will be more gates, even stranger ones, appearing in the future. She was worried about something else. What is this grave event you speak of? What do you mean by wanting us to survive? Junji hastily denied. No. His expression turned serious. It's when all these anomalous gates disappear. That's when we need to be ready. They both fell silent at this warning. On the still surface of the lake, two figures, one tall, one small, faced each other in the silent space. Blades clashed, sharp and swift, forming a dangerous cross in the air. Arthur, his grip tight on his sword, spoke in a calm voice. This is where I usually train alone, because not everyone in the Round Table knows of my existence. Care for a spar? He offered. You seem stronger than last time, Arthur remarked. Then, he began to channel his magic power. Junji readily accepted. All right. He summoned his spear, declaring confidently, I'm a lot different now. I have a question for you. But first, have you ever fought that lightning guy? Arthur looked surprised. Huh? Arthur warned anxiously. You'll get yourself killed talking like that. Junji persisted, undeterred. Answer me. Arthur simply smiled, granting his request. Of course I have. Are you finally satisfied? Junjung's demeanor suddenly turned serious. His pupils blazing blood red, he launched a preemptive strike. He stomped on the water's surface, sending a spray high into the air. The spear in his hand thrust straight towards Arthur. Arthur, while defending, taunted him. Are you actually serious? You're still too slow. The water churned from a violent clash between the two. Junjung retreated a considerable distance. He silently raised his guard, trying to find the right tactic. To fight Arthur, he needed to not only test his own combat skills, but also utilize everything he had learned. A fierce flame ignited, engulfing the entire spear. The system continuously sent out notifications. The fire technique of the Muspelheim spear had been converted into stats. Under the influence of the Fire King, this flame will become your strength. A blazing red mana, like a torrent of lava, surrounded Junjung, resembling a fiery serpent coiling around him. Arthur began to look intrigued, a spark of excitement flashing in his eyes. Oh, quite impressive. The two engaged in a fierce and intense battle. Both moved with blinding speed, appearing and disappearing all over the place. Fire and water clashed violently, creating a spectacular display. Neither side yielded. After a fierce struggle, the two suddenly separated. Junjung was sent flying by Arthur's blow. Arthur raised his hand, focusing mana in his palm. Then he abruptly unleashed a surge of energy straight into Junjung's stomach. Junjung still refused to give up, struggling to fight back, water splashing everywhere. Arthur looked down with contempt, his eyes emitting a cold light. Is that all? With crimson blood staining the corner of his lips, Junjung was forced to admit a truth. Arthur was truly powerful, but he wouldn't be easily defeated. Junjung silently made a determination. At least, he had to land one hit. Sharp sword strikes ripped through the air, creating whistling sounds. The blazing mana radiating from Jun Jiang grew more and more intense. A fierce flame erupted, engulfing his entire spear. Arthur was completely stunned by the sight before him. What's happening? He's absorbing SAO's magic. A system announcement rang out. The Dragon Heart is releasing magical energy. A terrifying explosion suddenly erupted, its deafening roar shaking the surrounding space. Thick smoke billowed upwards, obscuring everything in sight. Heavy rain poured down like a waterfall. Gradually, Arthur's figure emerged from the fog. Arthur's face was filled with terror, a bleeding wound visible on his cheek. He wondered, what just happened? What was that explosion? Jun Jung was silent, lost in thought. After a long moment, he finally uttered 2 words, Sunflare. Aha chuckled, praising him. Sunflare, your skill is truly impressive. As soon as he finished speaking, powerful streams of mana, which had silently approached without warning, suddenly bound Jun Jung's body. He collapsed, unconscious. Arthur's face was filled with remorse. I'm sorry. It's been a long time since I've felt this excited, Arthur said calmly. I couldn't control my own power. Arthur withdrew the surging mana. Continuing our interrupted conversation, you asked me about white lightning, didn't you? Currently, you lack the capacity to wield it. However, Jun Jiang couldn't hear the answer he was hoping for. Who knows? Maybe one day you'll surpass them. Time passed quietly. Birds soared freely across the vast city sky. Inside the quiet room, Jun Jiang was lost in deep thought. The bracelet suddenly emitted Hyun Mu's concerned voice. Are you alright? Jun Jiang raised his hands, examining them closely. Luckily, I've recovered thanks to Mulin's skill. He replied to Hyun Mu with a short yeah. I'm fine. Jun Jiang closed his eyes, recalling the recent battle. I lost, but at least I touched him. Jun Jiang excitedly boasted to Hyun Mu. My spear grazed the leader of a powerful organization. I become stronger. Suddenly, a knock echoed from outside. One, with his usual stoic expression, appeared. Are you in there, underdog? It's One. A flock of pristine white doves spread their wings, soaring freely against the deep blue sky of the city. Jungu and One stood facing each other. Jungu spoke first. I was informed by Merlin that you forewarned us about the impending crisis that could potentially engulf all of Britain. He bowed his head slightly, showing respect. I sincerely apologize to you once again for the knight's failure and the harm they caused you. I also want to thank you for the candid and mature attitude you displayed towards them. One humbly replied, It's nothing. Then he voiced his thoughts. But I don't think you came here just to express your gratitude, did you? One paused for a moment, finally whispering, Arthur. Jungu looked at One in surprise. He revealed the purpose of his visit. I know you had a friendly match with Arthur yesterday. I would also love to spar with him, but I haven't had the chance. One tightened his grip on his sword hilt, mana starting to surge around him. Though his words were an offer, his demeanor screamed of a readiness to battle. So, care to test your skills against mine in a duel? He sighed, resignation evident on his face. Figured as much. Guess I have no choice but to accept. I'm quite curious about your abilities as well. His eyes blazed with a fiery red, a powerful mana engulfing his entire being. The sky was a vast expanse of blue, dotted with a few lazily drifting white clouds. Jun Jiang was lost in thought. This must be a common trait among the knights of the Round Table. The image of Galahad surfaced in his mind. When Zhang Yonghua arrived at the Round Table, Sir Galahad, and surprisingly, even Lancelot wanted to test his strength against him. Lancelot's serious face suddenly flashed in his memory, as if he had realized something important. He had apologized to Zhang Yonghua and requested an informal duel, an unofficial one. Jun Jiang felt a wave of exhaustion wash over him. I came to the Round Table to return Excalibur. But why are we always stuck with these one-on-one battles? It's always just single combat. There's no variety. A vibrant red necklace rests in Junying's palm. Lost in thought, a memory surfaces, Merlin giving it to him. This necklace, it can slightly enhance your power. I believe one day it will become your greatest asset. He offers a genuine, warm smile. I received a lot of support during my time in China. Thank you. He replies to the sincere offer. If you have free time, would you like to visit the Nile River? Junying hesitates. The Nile River? Molly? Memories of past events flood back. Do you remember Inep, the hunter from the Nile River? The one who caused so much chaos. A flicker of suspicion crosses his eyes. Why is she suddenly bringing him up? Junying recalls the fateful moment they met. He was up in the branches, chatting with him. Last time, when I was injured in battle, the great warriors of Britain, He sought me out and invited me to visit the Nile. I heard that after returning to the Nile, he faced punishment. Merlin explained his intentions. So you still remember Ozymandias? That poor child. He asked me to implore you to visit him at the Nile once more. I understand his punishment at the Nile has concluded. So if you have the time, June acknowledged the request, but didn't rush to a decision, pondering carefully. Because the Round Table is a neutral power, they might warn other factions about the coming disaster. I've also completed all my duties of the Round Table, but there's one last matter to attend to in Britain. Finally, he gave a curt reply. No, I will certainly give it more thought. Merlin politely replied, thank you. The city was built with ancient, imposing buildings, an architectural style completely different from modern Korea. The faint sound of a farewell whisper reached June Jae-young's ears, catching his attention and making him instinctively glance over. June Jae-young looked up at the top of the towering clock tower, where Arthur stood silently, a silent farewell to his kindling. June Jae-young sighed, a look of helplessness on his face. He initially nicknamed that guy Lightning. June Jae-young thought to himself, now it's my turn to get a nickname. Arthur's voice echoed down. I expect you to give it your all when disaster strikes. Arthur departed, moving to a different location. A door suddenly opened. A bell chimed sharply, followed by the familiar voice of Park Ju-jin. But strangely, there was no response. June Jae-young, puzzled, called out again. Park Ju-jin. However, before him stood a strange girl with short hair. The girl looked at June Jae-young with suspicion and asked, are you an AI? June Jae-young firmly asserted, I'm sure I'm in the right place. He asked again, isn't Park Ju-jin here? Isn't this Park Ju-jin's shop? Minji crossed her arms, lost in thought. She stroked her chin, her eyes studying Jung-gyung carefully. He doesn't look like a loan shark here to collect a debt. He doesn't look like a hunter coming back after buying a bad batch of potions. And she's definitely not hiding a boyfriend in here. After a moment of pondering, she slammed her hand on the counter, declaring confidently, then you must be here to buy something. Jung-gyung quickly denied it, a flustered expression on his face. No, I'm not Park Ju-jin. And are you an AI? Minji leaned on the counter, casually explaining. I'm just watching the shop for Ju-jin. Ju-jin isn't around these days. Jung-gyung had to reschedule. I'm here because Ju-jin's brother told me to come. When can I see her? Minji suddenly realized something. So you're the one Ju-jin mentioned. She asked me to tell you something. She joined Olympus. June flinched at the words. His hand clenched, anxieties of the past twisting anew within him. His thoughts were a tangled mess. It wasn't time for her to join Olympus. What happened? What made her go there so soon? Unease welled up inside him. Could it be because of me? June fell silent, a new worry taking root. The course of history continued to be altered. Sunset descended, blanketing the city. June walked, answering his phone, hello. Meanwhile, on a deserted beach, gentle waves lapped against the shore. The sound of the ocean breeze brought a sense of peace. Trang was basking in the sun on the sand when her phone rang. What is it? A hurried voice on the other end said, get ready. She jumped up, startled. Huh? And now? Jun Ji pressed, a hint of urgency in his voice. Please come here. You can ask CEO Gu for more details about this. Besides the White Tiger team, who else will be going to Egypt with you? Im Chong paused and thought for a moment, then replied, all right, Egypt, it's not a bad place. I've been looking for something to do anyway. Elsewhere, a steady stream of cars flowed down the busy street, a cacophony of horns blaring incessantly. Mr. Gu was driving when a sudden voice startled him. Mr. Gu, I'm in Egypt. He was still focused on his work, multitasking while chatting. I thought you'd use the Bifrost to get back to Korea. Why are you in Egypt? Jun Ji explained, I have something I need to do here. He speculated, does it have to do with the great catastrophe? His voice turned serious. Each word weighted with meaning. It might even be connected to something even more catastrophic than that disaster. CEO Gu launched into a lengthy explanation to try and convince him. However, suddenly appearing there would cause countless problems. Egypt was already in a state of serious unrest. There were already complicated diplomatic issues, and his sudden appearance would only make things more chaotic and complex. So, until we can smooth things over on this side, please keep quiet. He suddenly interrupted. I think the problem's already been taken care of. He was stunned, seemingly unable to understand what he meant. But he only left a short statement. Put your faith in Asgard on the other side. Jun Ji was alone, facing 4 men with swords drawn. their bodies radiating a murderous aura, ferocious like demons. He raised both hands in surrender. In a magnificent, opulent palace, soldiers surrounded Jun Jiayong, whispering amongst themselves. What led the downtrodden, the overlooked, to the mystical land of Egypt? Know what? I don't. A mysterious voice spoke. He spoke, breaking the silence. Perhaps we need a translator? He suggested. Qianryong bravely stepped forward. Cho Rung changed to Qianryong. Hand over underdog to us, Qianryong declared. Then, they headed straight towards Jun Ji. Jun Zhang changed to Jun Ji. Astonishment was evident on the soldiers' faces. Dominance quickly filled the air. The person beside him spoke, offering a guess. Something unusual is definitely going on. Qianryong looked down coldly from above, his eyes sharp. I ask you, are you underdog? Qianryong's voice boomed with authority. He was wary, a sense of unease rising within him. It seems they've arrived. He thought to himself. An entire team from the Korean branch was dispatched. I didn't expect this at all, he exclaimed. Gio flashed a friendly smile. I received communication from headquarters, Gio announced. Headquarters said that others will also arrive today. Gio finished. It must be Dongyan Zhang and his crew, he guessed. They move fast, he added. I hear things are pretty unstable in Egypt. What's going on? Chu will fill you in. Currently, you can consider Egypt to be entirely under the control and rule of the Neen organization. I believe you know this, but Neen is divided into 3 branches. He continued to explain. Memphis holds the political power. Hermopolis manipulates the economy. And finally, Heliopolis controls all the hunters and their guilds. Chu's expression turned grave. They are vying for power and constantly scheming to seize control from the other branches. So the current situation in Egypt, Jun Jiayong quickly interjected, is complete chaos. He agreed. Exactly. Jiayong Te continued the story. Long ago, Heliopolis held ultimate power, but after an incident involving Horus, a serious rift occurred within Heliopolis itself. Hearing this, Jun Jiayong suddenly had a flashback. He seemed to recall Inet mentioning he belonged to a Heliopolis faction. He then asked Jiayong Te, what was the incident with Horus? Jiayong Te replied, we don't have all the details. It's a secret that even our most confidential sources haven't been able to uncover. Jiayong Te paused for a moment and continued. However, we do know that, during an attack on a certain gate, a heated argument broke out. Suddenly, the memory of Inep flooded back into Jun Jiayong's mind. He blurted out, it's because of the blood mineral. Please, we have to go to Neen D. Jun Jiayong frowned, thinking to himself, blood mineral? That's insane. Jun Jiayong stood up and made a suggestion. There's a hunter I'd like to meet. Jun Jiayong asked curiously, who? He smiled faintly, uttering the name he sought. Imhotep, captain of the Egyptian squad, a legendary hero among hunters. At the bustling, sprawling airport, Imhotep, with a stoic expression, strode out of the arrival gate. Suddenly, she saw someone with a bright, welcoming smile. Jun Jiayong approached. It's been a while, Imhotep, she replied warmly. Just as you requested. I brought everyone here. Manhwa, Valeria, and Gongju emerged from behind her. Yungyong Kritsit Wonwei Inhusiestik. Valeria and Gongju too. I'm so grateful you all came. Bander, with a sly grin, stepped forward. Not happy to see me. Seeing him, Junjung couldn't hide his surprise, thinking to himself, Bander, one of Asgard's most powerful warriors. Bander raised his hand, gently waving a fan. It's been a long, long time since I've set foot in such a sweltering place. You, on the other hand, seem lost in your own thoughts. And at the same time, he's Odin's right-hand man. Junji, his face darkening, demanded, why are you following him? His demeanor suddenly shifted, his gaze now holding a chilling intensity. Were you showing your true colors all along? You've truly disappointed me. Witnessing this, Fan Ria gritted his teeth in frustration. Inchong and Wonho were also taken aback by their hostility. A suffocating silence filled the air, then Bondar burst out laughing. Haha, I'm just kidding. The association president sent me here to assist Underdog in completing his grand expedition beyond the border. All the special gates in Korea have been dealt with faster than expected, so don't worry. He gave him a sly look. Anyway, I look forward to working with you. Until you return to Korea, Bander then shifted the conversation towards Jiangti. Young Jiangti remained silent, his expression darkening. Inwardly, Jun thought that, up to that point, this was going to be a rather unpleasant journey. A night passed at the palace. As dawn broke, Jiangti was sitting and talking with Jun. He expressed his desire to meet the hunters, but his request for a permit to enter Neen was denied. According to our intelligence, it seems there's some kind of incident occurring in Neen. Jun asked curiously, what happened? Jiangti explained, just like other nations, Egypt is calling its heroes back to their homeland. And Jiangti paused for a moment and continued. The second most powerful figure in Heliopolis, Set, has returned. If Horus cannot recover from his injuries, his position will be severely weakened by the incident. Jun took note of this. He reacted quickly. If so, the one in power will be Set. He agreed. It was indeed true. And now, he's the most powerful hunter in Neen. Hearing this, a cold sweat broke out on him. Jun silently pondered. The Neen organization, the power behind Egypt, possessing their strongest hunter. I poured everything, all my strength, into facing Arthur. But the image of Arthur was still vivid in his mind. I could only leave a small scratch on his cheek. Could he be as strong, or even stronger than Arthur? Suddenly, Jun stood up. His expression turned serious. Mr. Zhou, Jiante keeps requesting to meet Inep from Neen, Jun said. Mr. Te asked, what are you going to do? Jun looked at him with determination in his eyes. I'll find a way to meet him myself. The sky remained a clear, vibrant blue. From above, the city bustled with activity. On the rooftop of a high-rise building, Hyojin and Songgu were talking. He began, up until now, I haven't questioned anything yet. I'm not sure what your connection to Underdog is, or if you're hiding some sort of secret. He remained silent, waiting for what would be said next. Hyojin's eyes suddenly flashed a frighteningly cold glare. But now I need to learn more about him. My curiosity has been piqued, but he has never offered any answers. Hyojin looked skeptical. I can't understand your excessive kindness towards him. You're not the type to easily trust others. He seemed perplexed. Therefore, I find it incredibly strange that you place so much trust in him. It's as if you and he have known each other for a very long time, from a distant past. Hyojin directly asked about Underdog's true intentions. I can't understand what he's planning. Chairman Go-Gun, he explained the meaning of Underdog, referring to Li Junjiang. He's the type of person who shares your vision. He pondered thoughtfully. Hunter Baek Yunho said the same thing. He is a hunter, capable of helping us achieve our ambitions. When he matures, Go-Gun, he was lost in thought. Let's see, Sung Jinwoo thought to himself. Junjiang asked me to relay this to you. In that case, he revealed that your goal and his are perfectly aligned, to eliminate the rulers. His expression changed, filled with astonishment. Chairman Go-Gun, he continued to reveal. The hunters, who are ruled by sovereigns who govern a domain, have been completely stripped of their power. This is the first time a hunter has lost their power for a reason other than death. He continued, it all started when the Underdog took down the leader. Hyojin giggled softly. What a thrilling tale. In a grand and magnificent palace, Jun Jiaiyang and Bunder sat facing each other. Bunder calmly asked, so what's your point? Jun Jiaiyang got straight to the point. Bunder, which hero in Neen has ties to Asgard? He seemed slightly taken aback by Jun Jiaiyang's directness. Bunder raised his coffee cup to his lips. I don't understand what you're talking about. Why so suddenly? Some of me here like this? Jun Jiaiyang leaned forward. When the chairman of the Order Association asked you to come here, what did he say about cooperating with me? He slammed his cup down on the table. Bunder's gaze sharpened. He said, to cooperate with you in any way I can. Jun Jiaiyang crossed his arms. Then tell me, could any of the Ninjago heroes have a connection to the mythical realm of Asgard? Suddenly, Bender shot to his feet. He looked mysterious. I'll come back and tell you later. This is classified information, you understand? Jinwoo gestured invitingly. All right, go ahead, Bender replied. I'll be going then. He recalled Chairman Go's words. We don't have a full understanding either. It's something that even our intelligence sources couldn't uncover. However, we do know that, due to an incident while attacking a gate, a dispute occurred. Jinwoo deduced. Based on what the Korean Hunter Association chairman said, it's certain that they're really here. One national-level hunter is more than enough. Moments later, he and Inkang Wanhwa and Fenria strolled leisurely through Chang'an Park, hand in hand, feeling the warmth between them. Your hand is so warm, Fenria murmured. Wanhwa smiled tenderly. But isn't cold better than hot? She asked playfully. She tilted her head thoughtfully. That's true, too. His expression turned curious. By the way, Li Junji, he began, can I ask what your ultimate goal is? Inchong looked flustered, as if just remembering something important. Oh, right? Now that you mention it, I'm not really sure what my ultimate goal is either. He explained, it's like I'm always striving towards something in the distance. Although I can tell you my immediate goals. But the final destination, I really don't know. Don't tell me you want to rule the world, Wanhwa joked. Junji stopped walking at that. He paused, a mysterious glint in his eyes. Then he turned back, replying in a serious tone, I think it's actually kind of like ruling the world. Inchong was speechless at Junji's answer. I don't know if he's joking or being serious. Wanhwa shook his head in exasperation. Fenria suddenly gasped, as if realizing something was wrong. In the distance, a group of people were approaching, their bodies radiating a terrifying demonic aura. A massive darkness enveloped the area, hovering in midair. Junjian warned, get back. A pack of wild dogs is approaching. Suddenly, a figure with a strange mark on his hand appeared. He leaned forward, revealing himself, and muttered, this guy's strong, maybe on par with Arthur. Set stood before him. So you're underdog? Without hesitation, he replied, that's right. He said directly, I've come to bargain with you. Junjian nodded in agreement. On the rooftop, along with Dain Ze, he turned his back to him. After Egypt escaped the kingdom's rule, it took the name of the Arab Republic. But do you know, his gaze drifted into the distance. Egypt is still under the rule of another kingdom, under the reign of Nin. In reality, everything in Egypt is under their control. Junjiang calmly asked, are you seeking to inherit that dynasty? His eyes lit up with amusement. Indeed, a bright young man. He seemed excited. So, clever boy, care to test your deduction skills? Hold on, deduce what? He pointed at himself. Why do I yearn to succeed, Osiris, as the head of the Nin organization? And what will I do after becoming the supreme ruler? The playful expression vanished from his face. Take a guess. June was bewildered. Before meeting him, he thought, I assumed he caused an accident to usurp the throne. However, if he didn't do it just for power, then what was his reason? What are his true motives? He tried to reason. Could he be trying to become a benevolent ruler? In this vast Arabian kingdom, a place adorned with magnificent castles, each crafted with exquisite and unique patterns. Their team advanced along the wide, expansive main road, yet an eerie silence hung in the air. Injong spoke up, inquiring about the current situation. What did you discuss with Esibaya? He looked at her. He told me to guess his true objective. She asked curiously, what did you say to him? He paused, lost in thought. I can't even fathom what his true goal is. At first, I thought he simply craved power, wanted to be a king. But it seems that's not the case. The encounter with S.E. Bayok had completely changed his perception of him. He's incredibly dangerous, but he's not evil. In other words, he's not entirely good, nor is he truly evil. Byum Suk suddenly appeared, interrupting his train of thought. Byum Suk asked suspiciously, where did you just go? Before he could answer, she expressed her annoyance at his inquisitiveness. Don't you have anything better to do? He didn't seem to care about her subtle dismissal. Haha, looks like you two have finished your little chat. I've taken care of everything I needed to. But as he thought about it, his eyes darkened. I find it quite curious. His trump card is truly unique. Sensing the signal from him, they grew apprehensive. Every member of the group was a hero-ranked hunter. So why hasn't anyone joined Asgard? They stared into his eyes, unease settling in, and gulped involuntarily. Those eyes, the question echoed in their minds. Hunters who don't belong to Asgard know the organization's secrets? The thought seemed to amuse him. Could there be anything more dangerous? And King didn't have a good impression of Bunder. Is he testing us? Junying cut him off. Cut the crap. He threw the question back at him. The answer to the question I asked you earlier. What was it? He calmly explained. Odin requested that I cooperate with you, by any means necessary within my capabilities. A sudden, deafening explosion interrupted their conversation. Both men turned sharply towards the source of the sound. The explosion was so earth-shattering that it could be seen from a great distance. Electricity crackled across the sky, lightning bolts striking down, piercing through layers of dark clouds. Thunder swirled like a furious tornado, converging into a massive energy beam, creating a space filled with strange energy. Everyone nearby witnessed this extraordinary sight. A mysterious gate appeared in the heart of the city. As the gate widened, the energy surged out more intensely, causing the lightning to gradually turn a fiery red. Intrang worried about the unexpected possibilities. That gate, it's just appeared, but its magic is spreading at an alarming rate. If this continues, that gate will collapse right in the heart of the city. Countless people will be in danger. She frantically cries out, calling for Li Junji. We have to stop it. It's about to collapse. The young man calmly reassures her. Calm down. Dong In-chong. Witnessing Li Junji's calmness and nonchalant words, she angrily brushes him off. How can I be calm? So many people will die. We have to do something now. Yoongi patiently explains, it's all right. This isn't Korea. Ignoring him, she says, I don't care. Even if I'm alone, I'll go. A mysterious purple energy suddenly appears, powerfully enveloping her entire body. She draws her sword, yelling, I don't understand why you're hesitating so much. But in this urgent situation, every second was precious. As she prepared to leave, her gaze suddenly stopped. Powerful hellhounds, their muscles rippling like steel, soared across the vast sky. Across the vast expanse of the sky. Their razor-sharp eyes were evident on their cold, emotionless faces. They stared straight ahead, their gazes unwavering. Among them, one with superior abilities led the pack, moving like the wind. He pointed out that their mission wasn't in Korea. This was in I, and it had its own way of handling things. Understanding this, her emotions gradually returned to normal. Understand, though he reassured In-jong this way. He couldn't help but be astonished by his handling of the situation. But surprisingly, I didn't expect Set to come there himself. The scene gradually returned to its usual stillness. A system announcement rang out, signaling the situation. The special gate has been cleared. He wasn't surprised by the speed at which they controlled the situation. Just as I expected, they handled the gate quickly. Well, it makes sense. The leader of the group had personally taken action. Even if it were a special gate, it wouldn't be able to cause any harm. Collecting his thoughts, Jun-jung called in Jang over. Hearing her name called, she shyly lowered her head. If you're going to tease me, please don't. I'm already embarrassed enough. Contrary to her embarrassment, he gave her an approving smile. No, you did well. You acted that way because you wanted to save someone, right? She stammered. Yes, that's right. But a sudden sound interrupted their conversation. And Jang was the first to run off. It sounds like something's happening. He sighed in exasperation. She always rushes headfirst into everything. As she ventured deeper into the city, she came across a group of people attacking. A frail-looking man. Her furious gaze pierced through them, as if trying to incinerate them. What are you doing? Seemingly due to a language barrier, they looked at her with blank expressions, then turned to each other, asking, a hunter? What's she babbling about? Just then, he appeared. What's going on here? This time, they seemed to understand. That's Underdog, isn't it? Is he speaking Arabic? No way. There wasn't any language barrier at all. He easily conversed with them. The Merlin's necklace was truly useful. What happened that made you brutally attack a woman like this? The leader scoffed, his expression contemptuous, and waved them away. This doesn't concern you foreign hunters. Get lost. He observed the situation, deciding to intervene. After witnessing you beat a woman like that, I can't just stand by and watch. I need you to explain to me what happened. If not, his voice dropped, a stern warning lacing his tone. I will report this to the Hunters Association. Regardless of the reason, a hunter attacking a civilian is unacceptable. Hearing this, they burst into raucous laughter, as if they had just witnessed the most ridiculous joke. It seems you don't understand the situation here. In this part of Egypt, the power between hunters and civilians is vastly different. He coldly declared the local law. Hunters have the right to attack commoners whenever they please. An unspoken rule, understood and ignored even by the authorities. That's all we can do about it. He sneered contemptuously, raising his sword, ready to strike. Blood splattered, painting the surroundings crimson. The two witnessed the horrific scene, faces frozen in shock. But contrary to their expectations, What fell to the ground was nothing other than the sword-wielding arm of the ferocious thug. A blood-curdling scream tore through the air from him. In utter panic, he clutched at the severed limb. Jack stood tall and defiant on the rooftop, exuding a godlike aura. That fatal blow undoubtedly came from him. But even Egypt has its laws. You cannot act so recklessly. Those below trembled, staring up at Jack with fear-filled eyes. He landed softly on the ground, his presence commanding and powerful. An oppressive aura emanated from him, causing the surrounding air to grow heavy. Hunters from Neen are allowed to punish poachers. These are our rules. The horrific scene before them sent shivers down the spines of Jun Jiayong and Inchon. Crimson blood from the scattered bodies stained the ground, creating a gruesome sight. The hunters who were just moments ago arrogant and aggressive now lay lifeless, their eyes wide open in death. Inchon trembled, turning to Jun Jiayong with a worried expression. Is he a good person? Witnessing this brutal scene firsthand left Jun Jiayong at a loss for war. The girl hesitated, her voice filled with uncertainty. He did save that man, but his actions were a bit excessive. The young man lowered his head, lost in thought. I intended to save the man, he said, without regard for the consequences to Neen. Jack probably anticipated that, but his gaze drifted to the two lifeless bodies lying side by side in the corner. A pang of sorrow welled up inside Junjong. He still killed the hunters, he thought to himself. Deaths that could have been avoided. Seeing Jun Jung's continued silence, Inchong spoke up. Do you think he's a good person? Jun Jung hesitated for a long moment before replying, I don't know. The Egyptian sky was painted with the breathtaking colors of sunset. Pink clouds drifted lazily in the gentle breeze. Soon after, shimmering stars began to appear in the twilight sky. A magnificent palace glowed in the fading light. A new day was beginning. Everything went according to plan. Jun Jung and Bunder arrived at the Jade Palace. Before them, Yinep sat upon the throne, with Batet standing behind him. He offered a courteous greeting. It's been a while, Yinep, but who is this standing behind you? The woman with shimmering platinum blonde hair immediately spoke up. I am Lamia, also known as Batet. Jun Jung's eyes narrowed, as if sensing something amiss. I need to speak with Yinep, he continued, alone, and it seems my suspicions were correct. Neen and Asuka are watching us. Yinep got straight to the point. It has been some time, Jun Jung. What reason brings you to me? Jun Jung smiled casually. I simply wanted to see you. But just then, Badet suddenly sensed an unusual presence. Bunder felt it too. He narrowed his eyes, his expression wary. To ensure the investigation remained secret and efficient, Jun Jiayong decided to utilize his telepathic abilities, connecting his mind with Inep to communicate. Can you hear me? Inep, if you can hear my voice. And if you want to confirm something, give me an affirmative response. If you want to deny something, respond with a negative. He marveled internally. He can even use magic? Incredible. He quickly added, I'd like to meet you too. He began his cover story with a casual inquiry. You look thinner than before. Aren't they feeding you enough? But in his mind, he transmitted a completely different message. I'm here about the blood mineral. Does it have something to do with Hercule's power? Inep immediately responded in the affirmative. They feed me plenty. Yoon Gi-eong seemed satisfied. Have you eaten your fill? Last time we met, you wanted me to rescue Horace. Horace's situation, does it have anything to do with blood mineral? He nodded. Indeed, my tastes are quite unique. You're deliberately avoiding the main issue. Numek, the hunter, also helped me in the grand tournament. Those brave warriors, are they well? But what Jun Jiayong really wanted to ask was Horace controlled by blood mineral, like Hercule was before? This time, he affirmed confidently, they are all very healthy. He nodded in response, I understand. Bander, who was listening to this cryptic conversation, frowned. This is confusing. What the heck are they talking about? Jun Jiayong decided to get to the point. Do you know Nuke? I mean the culprit. Will we ever be rid of that name? Ineb's eyes suddenly widened in surprise. He replied in a low voice, with a hint of cunning, that kid's pretty slick. It's my intuition, but I'm not sure what Numek thinks. Deep down, he wondered. He means he doesn't know if Satch is the mastermind or not. The conversation outside continued. It would be great if you two could get together. Is there anything I can do to help? No ulterior motive was conveyed. Inep replied casually, but with a hidden meaning. If you could help me, that would be great. Jun Jiayong didn't hesitate, firmly stating, I understand. Then let's arrange a time, so we can all sit down together. He expressed his gratitude. Thank you. Moments later, in another room of that grand, magnificent castle, a hand clenched into a fist, slammed down on the table. Piercing screams of agony echoed through the air. Bender roared in outrage. You demanded I arrange a meeting with Inep, just to discuss these trivial matters. A sense of betrayal fueled his rage. If you dare exploit Asgard for such insignificant things, then even Odin won't tolerate it. Despite Bender's fury, Yunki Eong remained calm. Isn't this quite reasonable? His cryptic words left Bender bewildered. I don't understand what you're getting at. Jun Jae-yong continued enigmatically. Just wait and see. He will be pleased. Bender furrowed his brow. Warning, you better ensure the outcome is as you say. At that, a confident smirk spread across Jun Jae-yong's lips. Jun Jae-yong quickly changed the subject. I'm about to complete my mission in Egypt. Return here in 3 days. Bender questioned. 3 days? Yoon Ki-yeong calmly explained. I haven't even seen the sights of Egypt yet. Bondar was deeply annoyed by Jun Ji-ai's attitude and behavior. Suddenly, he seemed to remember something. Jun Ji-ai, I'm so curious. Let me ask you something. Which hero dared to infiltrate Bondar's lair? He thought to himself with glee. He's taken the bait. I almost forgot I had the upper hand with him. A wide smile quickly spread across Bondar's face. You've already met them. Jun Ji-ai's eyes darted around, trying to search his memory. Met them? Who was it? Time ticked by silently. Another night descended upon Egypt. On the vast sands beside the long river, Yoongi stood silently alone, small and solitary in the vast expanse. Suddenly, he heard a faint sound. He immediately turned around. Quietly, a veiled Inap whispered, I'm late. There are many people following me. I am sorry, but that wasn't all. He also issued a warning that there's a high probability many people are watching our every move. Even here, you've already caught the attention of all the ninja. However, you remain calm, reassuring him not to worry. In an instant, a protective barrier was created, enveloping both of you. You explained that they wouldn't be able to observe us from the outside. Witnessing this, he couldn't help but be astonished, his eyes widening, distorting space. Can you use magic? I thought you could only use a little bit like this morning. But you're truly extraordinary. Junpei looked up with a worried expression. But perhaps this still isn't enough. There's nowhere Osiris can't see. Junpei pondered. Even with the great Merlin's power, could they see through this? I'm not entirely sure. To avoid further complications, you should ask quickly. Let's get straight to the point then. Why did you call me here? Neen and Nep hesitated for a moment, seemingly reluctant. But then, she spoke with determination. Because of the blood mineral, Horus is still unconscious. He regained his memories and explained that the blood mineral is a special kind of, or capable of granting its user terrifying power, similar to what Hercules showed us in your previous battle. Inep returned to the present issue. Everything started when Set brought the blood mineral. A sense of unease began to rise within Jack. They found the blood mineral already? Just as I suspected, the past has been altered. Whispers and rumors spread, surrounding the mysterious red stone, a mystical object capable of drastically increasing the power of monsters, horrifically, and possessed an astounding, accelerated growth rate. Naturally, everyone focused their research on blood mineral. Countless experiments were conducted. Then EP Research Institute declared their experiment a resounding success. They